Good evening and welcome to the JFK Junior Forum. My name is Juan Castano and I'm a member of the JFK Junior Forum Committee here at the Institute of Politics. Before we begin, note the exit doors which are located on both the park side and the JFK Street side of the forum. In the event of an emergency, please gather your belongings, walk to the exit closest to you, and congregate in the JFK Park. Please take a moment now to silence your cell phones. You can join the conversation tonight online by tweeting with the hashtag Geingob Forum, which is also listed in your program. Tonight's event will begin shortly. Please take your seat now and enjoy the program.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Doug Elmendorf, the Dean of Harvard Kennedy School. Welcome to the Kennedy School and to the John F. Kennedy Jr. Forum. We are honored tonight to be joined by the President of Namibia, Hage Geingob. President Geingob has had a long and distinguished career in public service. He was director of the United Nations Institute for Namibia, which was the forerunner of the current University of Namibia, and originally aimed to train people for the Namibian civil service after the country gained independence. President Geingob was the chairman of the Constituent Assembly, which wrote the Namibian Constitution in 1989, and he served as his country's first prime minister from 1990 to 1992. President Geingob then worked in Washington for an organization that promoted economic development throughout Africa. He later joined the parliament in Namibia, served again as prime minister, then became vice president, and last year was elected as president of Namibia. Like you, I look forward to hearing his insights about Namibia's political and economic successes and challenges. I'm grateful to the Kennedy School's Institute of Politics for hosting tonight's event and many other events over the course of the year. I'm also grateful to my colleague Calestous Juma for moderating tonight. Calestous is professor of the practice of international development and the faculty chair of our Mason Fellows program. At the Kennedy School's Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs, Calestous directs projects in science, technology, and globalization, agricultural innovation policy in Africa, and health innovation policy in Africa. So he is a very important part of the mission of the Kennedy School. As I said, we are honored to have President Geingob with us tonight. Please give him and Professor Juma a warm welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Professor Dean Douglas Elmendorf, I hope. Professor Juma, glad to see you again after a long time. Students of Harvard University, I have some Namibian ministers and the First Lady. The First Lady I don't want to introduce because earlier she was addressing some ladies only, and I felt left out, because Namibia were saying no one must feel left out. But I was very happy to listen to her, and somebody was saying, are you going to very soon exchange positions? These things you don't exchange, you are elected by people. So even if you are wishing she could be a president, it will take a long time. I have also to introduce somebody here who is very special to us. I'm talking about Mrs. Chatoivo. Oh, you are here. She's from this part of the world, but we kidnapped her during the struggle, and she married one of our icons, who was a Robben Island graduate, our comrade Atoivo. He is now old, and this is the wife of that icon. And she's from here, so please get up so that they can give you a... It's a great honor that I have been invited to come to this very important university, Ivy League University, as we refer to you, J.F. Kennedy Forum. I thank Gary Devine, the director of this reputable forum, for making me to visit this visit, by inviting me to be here of a big delegation. If Namibians can just get up so that they can see we are a big delegation. All of you just get up. Are you Namibian? Thank you. Professor Dr. Vesey is a doctor in New York. He's my doctor for nearly 30 years. And when I was out of the parliament and was a backbencher and later on came to visit him, he said, I would like to keep you healthy so that one day you can become a president. Now, can you see that? That's why he came to join us from New York. And he got up when I said Namibians must get up. So welcome. You're welcome. I'd like to focus or discuss today with you briefly using three pillars: the governance architecture, the macroeconomic architecture, and socio-economic architecture. And I'll be brief because I'm told it's always good to take questions. But Africa today is on a march. I'm talking about New Africa, Africa where we now elect leaders. Days of the coups are over. There are reversals here and there, but when that occurs, it will be Africans themselves who decide not to recognize that government. We tell them to go back and have proper elections, and then you can join AU. Yes, there are some problems. You're going to ask me some questions, but I'll answer you. So in our case, you already see that we have term limits, that you can serve only for 2 5-year terms, and therefore in the short term that we have been independent, short term we've been independent, I'm already the third president. We have the founding father of our country, a revolutionary who freed the country, who laid the foundation for peace, a reconciliation, and then gave the way to another stalwart of the army, of the struggle, Comrade Pohamba, who also served for 2 5-year terms, even given Ibrahim Moore's prize for good governance. So I will say that in Namibia, we are now busy. Now that we have democracy, we have regular elections, what more can we do in Africa, actually? I say we must have processes to start with. Electoral process must be foolproof, it must be transparent, so that the losers can easily accept the outcome. Then we must have a system that is working, that even if there is a dispute, that the governance is not interrupted. And thirdly, if everything else fails, we must have institutions like the courts. Example I will give you is in your own country. When you failed to count during Gore and Bush's campaign about Florida issue, you had transparent process where two parties were sitting and trying to justify or to explain what went wrong, or so on. I'm not accepting their argument, talking about process, that there was a transparent process where they were trying to justify what was going on in Florida. Then, system. While that was going on, the system, there were no armored cars in the streets, there were no soldiers. President Clinton was still in charge. That's a system. If everything else fails, you go to the courts. Namibia were doing that. Right now in Gabon, we had some problem. And after disputes, I'm part of the group who has been assigned to go and mediate that process. But lucky enough, they went to the court, save us the trouble, to travel to Gabon. So processes, systems, and institutions. That's what Africa needs to buttress its democratic or electoral and procedural democracy. It's a big difference. We still have to add civil liberties and other liberties, but still Africa is on the march. That today, we don't have our leaders overthrown and run into Paris. Many of them stay in their own countries. In the past, once you are former president, finish. You are either in jail, 6 feet under, or exile. Today, our leaders are with us in many countries in Africa. They are respected. Like in our case, the founding father, is now highly respected. And so is the former president who just left the office. And I will also be respected, I think. Now, governance must be regarded as a partnership. Partnership must be formed by equals. And it must be accountable and transparent, or transparent and accountable. I try to formulate my mathematical formula. T plus A equals TR. Transparency and accountability equals trust. You know, there is less trust in us politicians all over the world. Because we are not transparent, we are not accountable. But if we are going to be transparent and therefore be accountable, trust will be regained. And that way, you can trust us when we say something because I'll be accountable. Not only that, if we are going to regard people as sovereigns, they are the sovereigns who, unlike in the Greek city-state, where all of them used to gather, population was small, and decide together. Today, we have representative governments. You then say, looking at my manifesto, say, I'm going to buy into your manifesto, I'll elect you for 5 years and watch you whether you're going to implement what you promised us to implement. If not, I'll remove you. So you know that you are a servant, that you are there to serve the people. They are the ultimate sovereigns. And that way, if you therefore respect that, and go in there already knowing that your term is about to end in 4 years' time, unless you are re-elected, and respect them and come back to report back occasionally, because term limits come in here. In a case like us, who are elected direct by the people, I don't have any accountability. I come to the rally and do SWAPO slogans, Viva SWAPO, and they vote. When I go back, I'm on my own. I go once in a year to go and address the parliament and take questions. Unlike those who are elected through parliaments or prime ministers in UK, there's no need for term limit because you are going to be in the parliament and be held accountable. But when you are an executive president who is elected direct by the people for 5 years or whatever time, and you are there, State House, no accountability. Unless you have to make yourself available, go have town hall meetings as I do, and then take questions and be attacked and attacked and attacked. One day I was following two ladies. They asked me questions, I answered, I thought I was behind. And they were saying, yes, we told him off. And I said, yeah, after I listened, I said, yeah, it's good, really, you were right. Oh, we are sorry. But that idea of them chasing it out, anything, is very important. They are not going to sit and plot how to overthrow you. Because you are available, you are accountable, they insulted you or they quarreled with you. That in itself is very, very important. And therefore, to be available to people, to account back. Namibia is also the freest press, talking about freedoms, freest press in Africa, and maybe also some parts of the world. Because your press is very free. I really admire your press, because it always provides two sides to the story. In some parts, people tell only one side, government side sometimes. But if private sector owns the press, as in Namibia's case, it also tells that story only. So I like the press to be free, and our press is free. Our democracy is working, but I wanted to state, we are not doing these things to please Americans or Harvard scholars. We are doing it because it's what we fought for. People died for it, some imprisoned, some exiled. We fought for those rights. So if you are democratic, don't think we're trying to please you in the Western world or trying to have free press because we want to be accepted by you. No. It is good for us. It is good for Namibia, it's good for Africa. That's why we are going to have these things. Also, the other level I have to rush is gender equality. That's why I protested when I was outnumbered, whereas in Namibia we believe in 50-50. Now we are struggling in Namibia, as I said, to have 50-50. And my party had a quota system, and through that we got 50-50 in the party elections, but at national level, from 24% in the assembly, we have today 47% of women. We are only looking for 3%. There will be 50-50. Then, in appointing my cabinet, I have to look. I asked them to send in CVs, all parliamentarians. And I was looking to try to match their skills with the post I want to appoint them. And I chose a young lady as a prime minister, first prime minister. Then you have a lady who is also a deputy prime minister. And I will tell you key ministries, like education, both higher and lower, are having 4 women, minister and deputy minister. Because their mothers, they are the ones who are starting to teach children at home. And our education, I think, very soon will be in good hands. So 4 women, mothers, that's education. And education is one opening the doors. It's the greatest equalizer, we say. So that's why we entrusted education to mothers. Now coming to Africa's transformation, briefly, I'll talk about OAU and AU, just to give an example. I will simplify the matter and say OAU was transactional and AU is transformational. So OAU was for states. States were involved there, but they did a very important role of freeing all of us. That the whole of Africa is today free because of OAU. But that was it. You get that and you leave the situation as it is, so to say. Like people will say, Uhuru Nakasi, Uchone Nyerere. But we just say independence, independence. So you will see Kamuzu Banda was a revolutionary in that sense, because he was fighting for freedom. But what after freedom? We didn't discuss that. Even our greatest leader, Kwame Nkrumah, didn't say what you do after Uhuru. He says, seek ye first the political kingdom, and rest will be added unto you. It will be added unto you. He didn't address that question also. Nyerere came closer to that to say, Uhuru Nakasi, independence and hard work. But because of that, if you got independence, your flag is up, national anthem, you achieve your goal. But what next? So therefore, transactional situation is that even President Mandela was transactional, but needed at that time. The situation was bad. He came out, respected person, harmonized the situation between black and whites, extended there. Ended there. Thabo Mbeki came, he started to empower the blacks. I'm not talking about unintended consequences thereof, but he empowered the blacks, economic situation has changed, therefore he was, in a way, a transformational leader, as opposed to Mandela. But you need that situation. Sam Nujoma, transactional, President Mugabe, transactional, yet they were revolutionaries. But because of realities on the ground, that you have to unite the people, white, black, because those are only 3 settler colonies, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Namibia, where white people came to say, we stay here. Whereas in West Africa, mosquitoes were there, they helped a little bit, and they were therefore having indirect rule from London. But in Zimbabwe, in Namibia, in South Africa, whites came to settle. Now, some are saying white people stole the land. It's true they stole the land. But if after 50 years, a boy is born there, on that soil of Namibia, and we talk about soil and blood is what makes citizenship. That person is equally a citizen like me. And actually, I was born on white man's farm. We played together with that boy. He owns the land, I don't have a land. That's the only difference. By citizenship, we are both citizens. How do we resolve that issue? I'll come to that later on. So, AU, therefore, is now no longer accepting those who come through unlawful means. It's not America or UK, London, who tells us that it's Africans who say, if you are not elected, we are not going to admit you in AU. I hope you heard that. Yes. It's us. And the other day in Washington, I was saying, world is only going to respect those who respect themselves. And we in Africa want to respect ourselves, and I do respect myself. And I also demand respect from others. But if you don't respect yourself, you cannot demand respect from others. So Africa is now moving towards that. To respect ourselves, the transformational AU is having people's parliament to try to already engage African population, not just leaders. Then you have ECOSOC. You have even ECOSOC having diaspora element. Diaspora, not only slave diaspora, but also economic diaspora, that they can have a seat to try to have input in Africa's future. Yes, I will move on, because I would like you to ask questions, that would be interesting. But since I'm here, one of the great sons of this part of the world, President John F. Kennedy once said, peace is a daily, a weekly, a monthly process, gradually changing opinions, slowly eroding old barriers, quietly building new structures, unquote. Therefore, in today's Namibia, we are trying to heal the wounds of the past and maintain our peace weekly, monthly, and yearly by gradually changing opinions through this new narrative, slowly eroding old barriers and quietly building a new structure, the Namibian house. One Namibia, one nation. A country where no one must feel left out. I could briefly touch on macroeconomic architecture. Namibia has a very, very advanced banking system. Our budget deficit, our GDP growth has been excellent, but it's economic growth without creating jobs. We are not answering that question. We need actually 7% growth to be able to answer social deficits that we have inherited. So we are now coming to what the former president said, the founding father, socio-economic architecture. That is now the second phase of our struggle. Economic emancipation. You can have democracy, you can have peace, and a good constitution. But I must, in a raw way, say, people don't eat good constitution. They don't eat peace. They eat food. They want shelter. So after 26 years of peace, of democracy, they are saying now, we want shelter, we want clothing, we want roads, clinics, and so on. So we are saying Namibia legacy continues. The founding father laid the foundation, good one. The next one stabilized the situation. Now they are saying, yours truly, Hage Geingob, you have to deliver. You must create prosperity. That's a tall order, difficult order. One person cannot do it. And I hate to have one person rule. We are saying we should forget to glorify our leaders beyond recognition. Your Excellency, how are you going to arrest Excellency if you are scared of him? There is a difference between respecting a person and fearing a person. If you are a leader and people are scared of you, there is a problem. But if they respect you, I will say hello, thank you very much. So we must therefore respect our leaders, but not to fear them. Somebody gave us an example. If a president is standing there, somebody is trying to shoot. Are you going to knock him down? Or are you going to come and say, Your Excellency, I'm about to shoot you? While you are doing that, he's shot. So idea is not to fear him or, hey, I'm told he's trying to take over. Not to fear, but to respect. So you are supposed to knock him down. But if you are afraid, you will be afraid to touch. And therefore there will be a damage. You will be killed. So, yes, we must respect our leaders, but we have to now build. People want to eat. And therefore, we have to have inclusive economic participation. Hence, my plan that is called Harambee Prosperity Plan. I didn't steal the word from Kenya, as somebody is trying to say. That it's not a Kenyan word. It's a Swahili word, which Kenya President Jomo Kenyatta was using. Now I'm using it to say Harambee Prosperity Plan. Why? If I use my language, you couldn't pronounce it. And they could have said, why did he use his language and leave us out? Now, I want to be inclusive, and therefore chose a neutral word, Harambee Prosperity Plan, where we must hold hands, all of us, and pull in the same direction. I would say we have to create investor-friendly environment. We have gold, uranium, diamonds. I ask people during my town hall meetings, how many have seen gold? One. Uranium, nobody. Diamonds, they see it on the rings of ladies. So I said, now, these are things we have. You comrades are saying our resources are being exploited by imperialists. You don't even know it. There are those who want to use these materials, these things. Let's create conducive climate for investors. That those who need these things will come and take it out initially. We tax them, we get royalties. I'll use that money to build clinics, schools, and infrastructure. But now Africa is saying we must also industrialize. Value addition. Our resource is very important. You can transfer technology that way. You can create jobs. We have high unemployment of youth because raw materials are going out to Italy, like our marble, big stones. They are cut there and polished and sent back to us. That's the old colonial way of doing it. New Africa must not allow that. We must therefore stop that. Well, everybody is saying Namibia is one of the unequal countries in the world. White people own most of the things. We are saying we must hold hands, which we are doing. At political level, where we have power, we have embraced the white people. Ministers are there. We are saying where you have power, also in influence, like in land and mines and so on, we must also hold hands as Namibians. And therefore, we are talking about, instead of saying black economic empowerment, we are saying it should be new, equitable economic empowerment framework, so that you don't add race to it and color to it by saying black. It must apply to us, but everybody is saying Namibia is unequal, but they don't provide solutions. When they're trying to provide solutions, some are already reacting. Paper is just work in progress. It's now out for consultations. And somebody saw there, somebody saying, we must take 25%, they must give it to previously disadvantaged, and the war. Even Colombia already had an article on it. It will be not good for investors. But we're not saying grab it. We're not going to allow that. It's a fair society. But what are we proposing? You have all the resources in a country where majority are black, and they will sit there forever. Inclusivity spells harmony. Exclusivity spells conflict. And unless we in Namibia, as I say, hold hands and build a Namibian house in a Harambee spirit, and using our constitution, our house concept, that when you build a house, you use the bricks. Now, ours is a multiracial society, I have to say, and tribal. So I'm saying we are building a Namibian house, and we are using bricks as our foundations. Bricks representing whites, Damaras, Hereros, colors. We use that and build that wall. I'll jump. You finish it, you allow it to dry up, then you plaster it. When you plaster and paint it, you can no longer identify individual bricks. You will no longer identify the whites, the colors, the blacks, the Tamaras, the Namas, and the Ovambo, and so on, but just see one wall. So we're saying Namibian house we're going to build must be a house in which all Namibian children must hold hands and live peacefully in that house. Of course, children can fight in a house too. And I also will say, in Africa too, we must build African house, holding the AU Charter, holding hands, and therefore have one Africa, one continent, and the world too. I'm a globalist, I'm a Pan-Africanist, that we can also build that wall in a world where we are not going to see individual nations, only see that wall, which will say, one world, one people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I would like to invite you back here. We have about 25 minutes to interact with His Excellency after that really excellent presentation. The routines are actually quite basic. We have microphones over here, so if you want to ask a question, just line up behind the microphones. And there are 2 more microphones at the top. It's really, let's keep it to a question, and I've had a question defined here as a logical sequence of words with a question mark at the end. Keep it brief, and it's really 1 question per customer, please. and then you can have really a productive engagement with His Excellency. Let's start over here.
Sison. President, thank you so much for an excellent presentation. My question relates to the question of redistribution after a rocky past. I think it's fair to say the ANC has failed on the grounds of land redistribution. I think an ardent supporter of the ANC might say it's at least plausible that they failed. And they sort of followed the willing buyer, willing seller model, which to my understanding is sort of what you guys are doing with perhaps a bit more success. So I was wondering if you could speak to that experience in Namibia and whether or not you think it might be justified at some point to do something that might be a little bit more aggressive.
Thank you.
Yes, you're from South Africa.
Ironically, I'm from Swaziland, the
it's the same
non-democratic side.
difference.
Yeah,
Well, ANC's problem is SWAPO's problem. We have a constitution in Namibia which guarantees property rights. In our constitution, there is no mention of land. Land only comes up when you talk about property. And if somebody already owns property legally, you can't take that away without fair compensation. So there is a way out. Now, initially, you couldn't just come and grab somebody. As I said, they are citizens. Swaziland, I was in Swaziland just 3 weeks ago. Swaziland, Southern Africa, were white people who have come long time ago. They are settlers, and they are citizens. And you have to treat them equally, just like I'll treat you. Now, idea of willing buyer, willing seller was arrived at in Namibia after I chaired the first land conference. And we debated, we had about, for the first time, 6 translations. They were talking in their own languages. We had a whole week talking about land. At the end, we couldn't agree about ancestral land especially. Who does the land belong to? To what you call now Bushmen that time, we call them San, or to Damaras and Hereros, who do we give the land to? We failed to identify the original owner of that land. So let's move on, let's look forward. And we said, okay, willing buyer, willing seller, because we have to also kind of, what do you call it, to soothe, so to say, the white people were so scared. They thought they were so bad in treating us. And they thought we were going to revenge. We had to say we are different. We will show you how civilized we are. And therefore, we will not grab your land without fair compensation. Now, young people, we talk about unemployment. Young people are getting angry everywhere in Southern Africa, maybe other parts of Africa or world. They want to grab land. While I was campaigning to be elected, SWAPO young people, SWAPO my party, went to grab the land. And it called for skilled elderly persons to negotiate with them. I locked them up and we spoke for 6 hours. At the end, we had peace. Because I told them, we are equally concerned about land. In SWAPO manifesto, we have land question there. But we are disagreeing on the modalities, how to get that. And that's the important thing. Grabbing, I also tell them, to build takes a long time. To break down, it's easy. You saw countries that failed, or regime change that you have started. Syria, Iraq. This war is still going on. Yet we're changing the regimes to bring peace and prosperity. It didn't work, they are still dying. And when I see one child, especially recently, from Syria, who was sitting there with dust and so on, painful. I said, young people, look, some of us are coming from war. War is not a good thing. Let's talk, because we go to war when talking fails. So as long as I can engage people to talk, educate, I will do that. So land issue is critical. I will talk about ANC, I'm talking about SWAPO now. Yes, we are failing so far, but easy way could have been to grab from white people what they have. What could have been the consequences today? We could have had peace there. You think they would just sit and watch you to grab the things? They will fight. So, and they will be supported by Western countries, by the way. You know, when we were fighting for our independence, we were supported by communists only. The governments were supporting South African apartheid regime. So don't think they just sit and watch when you are grabbing the land. Ask President Mugabe, and you will get the answer from there. So I know it's an issue we have to, but can I ask you a question back? Supposing we urbanize and provide jobs to majority of people, do you think land will be so important? Or is a question of lack of jobs, lack of having good living, that force people to think land is the answer? Yes.
Good. Yes, please.
Good evening, His Excellency, and I'm not referring to you as His Excellency out of fear, but this is out of sheer respect. At the outset, I would like to congratulate you for the remarkable work that you're doing. My name is Malvika Jain, and I'm studying the organization of digital businesses and movements at Harvard Business School. And my question to you is that what kind of role can digitization play in countries like yours and help you to leapfrog to the next level?
Okay, what?
Could you repeat the question?
The role of digitization in helping countries like yours leapfrog to the next level.
Digitization.
Yes.
Oh, you talk about information age, not my age, your age. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. Information age, digital, the divide must be stopped. As long as you are going to leave some people out, I said, as long as you exclude people, you are spelling trouble. So you have to be inclusive. So education, train us. We talk in Namibia about vocational training instead of Harvard University Law School and getting a degree, although that is important. They don't build the countries, the PhDs like we have. It's artisans. So we have to first start there too. And digital divide must be stopped. We must go everywhere in the villages. Already we have the cellular phones. That proof is there. That in dark corners, people have the cellulars. Same way we can bring it. In Namibian TV is already digitalized. Namibian TV is digitalized. First one in Africa. So that's the way to go.
Thank you.
Good. Over there, please.
Thank you so much for coming. My name is Jack, and I'm a sophomore at the college. I really enjoyed what you were saying about holding hands between the whites and blacks, even after the strong divides and inequalities in Namibia. But my big question is, with very divided communities and a lot of residential segregation, how do you think we can have the next generation of children in Namibia believe in integration and have a shared identity between the races?
You see, it's a very good question. Young people, the children, don't have problem. One day after independence, I was sitting in a restaurant, very proud in town, just Saturday, looking, and two kids met there, white and black. They didn't know each other. They started to play nicely. It's you and I who are a problem. You tell them that person is not good. They are black, they are backward. You give the names to people. And the child is learning from us, the grown-ups, to tell them not to like other person. In Namibia, we are saying, and I think we are making progress, that definitely, if you go to Namibia today, or you should have been there maybe 30 years ago, to see how divided people were. Katutura for blacks only. By 9 o'clock, you should leave the town. And when I came back from exile, walking in the street, I couldn't believe it. By 9 o'clock, quiet. Now blacks. But today you go, you will see what happened to the white people. That Independence Avenue is now just blacks walking around, free people. And you will see the young kids, black and white, playing. Only problem that we will have is if we don't provide economic independence also to blacks and everybody. But young people don't have problem. It's older people. It's us who bring, in fact, there is a saying in Namibia that we who came from exile broad tribalism. When those people were there in the belly of the beast, they were holding hands to fight against apartheid. But we came back, now trying to position ourselves for power. You have to go back to your tribe. So that thing must be addressed, and we leaders are not talking against that. That we must hold hands. We don't have any other choice. The world is becoming a global village. And if you cannot form unity in your own country, 2.5 million people cannot coexist. My declaration here is, as long as I'm alive, we'll work on it, that people hold hands, black, white, yellow, and march Harambee in the same direction. That's why I said Harambee, holding hands. And we're doing it. Look at my doctors here. This is a white boy here. I'm sorry. Because they used to call us boys, so I can call him boy too. But we are working together. Here, medical doctor of the president. One day I had my top security after independence, white man. And I came to Nigeria. And typical Nigerian friends, my brother says, "Do you trust him?" And I said, "Yes, I trust him." Because he said he will die for me. That time already. It's not the color. How many blacks sold us out? And how many whites also died in South Africa, in Namibia? Andrew Loboski was a young white boy. Just before Comrade Nyoma came back, he was killed by whites. They were supporting us. So let's say the village is becoming smaller and smaller. I will be flying from here, I will be home by tomorrow evening. That's how small the world is becoming. Let's just, all of us, hold hands and build the world that all human beings, the human race, can live together. We can disagree. We can, of course, wait a minute. We can, of course, disagree. Even in one house, family disagrees. But don't kill each other. Discuss. You go to war when diplomacy fails, they say. As long as you can engage your neighbor, fight with mouth, not with guns. You will make it. Look at you. Earlier we were told you came from different countries. Here you are talking, sitting. Why should you fight tomorrow when you become a politician like me?
Good. Yes, over there, please.
Yes, good evening, Mr. President. My name is David Rose, and I'm a joint student here at the Kennedy School of Government and the Harvard Business School. And in March, I actually had the opportunity to participate in a trip to Namibia of Harvard University students to study the political and economic situation in that country, and it was sponsored through the Pupkowitz Foundation and led by Miss Andrea Berry sitting there on the floor. And one thing I saw there was a lot of private sector organizations and NGOs doing a lot of work in Namibia, and it seemed like there was like a less coordination than you would normally see. So my question to you is, how can the government more effectively work with private sector and NGO organizations to reshape the socio-economic fabric that you were discussing in your previous speech?
Yes, as I said, we are partnership. And I said government cannot create jobs alone or build the country alone. Private sector is the engine of economic growth. We believe in that. But these days, private sector has also social responsibility. You don't just go there and grab raw materials and take them out. They want to plow back. And when I declared this Harambee prosperity plan, farmers, white people mostly, farmers, hunters, they came and said, we are together. We'll support you. So NGOs is the one thing. I'm talking about private sector, that we can work. They are the ones to create jobs for us. But you must give them incentives. You must give them conducive environment, which we are providing in Namibia. But as the First Lady said earlier, maybe she got it from me, is that people don't come because of good governance to invest. They come for resources. So even if a country is at war, they come to invest to take their wealth. So the NGOs, some of them, including the local ones, some seem to be taking over from opposition parties which are failing. Some press people too are told there's one party state still, although we got elected democratically. So NGOs are different from here. Here, lobbyists have one item, one issue based. In Africa, in Namibia, NGOs are for everything, which means politics. But we welcome them. We have the law. We created some. We financed some. If you finance, it's a crisis also. So therefore, if they are financed from outside also, it's a crisis. So they must be able to exist on their own, to do. Nobody is inhibited in Namibia. We work with NGOs. We welcome NGOs, provided they are not having their own agenda. Because after all, I was elected by NGOs. You see? I represent NGOs because I was elected by NGOs, by all Namibians, including NGOs. But some NGOs think they must have a policy that they are opposing, which is their right, if it's issue-based. But everything, that means failed politicians, Namibians. Outside ones maybe are good, I don't know. But definitely, I don't know, maybe your question is based on something. In Namibia, there is no problem with NGOs. We work together. Unless you know there is something, I will answer it. In Namibia, they are welcome. They are doing a good job too, with HIV. And churches. Churches, the role they are playing, fantastic. So Namibia, you are welcome.
Good, good. We have 5 minutes left, so what I would like to propose is that we take 3 questions, and then His Excellency will take note of the questions and answer them all together, if you don't mind. So let's go over here.
Hi, my name is Mirette. I served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Namibia, actually in the Kavango East region in Divundu. My question is that when I was there, I noticed a lot of disparity between the capital, Windhoek, and Swakopmund or Okahanja versus really rural areas like the Kavango East region and the northern part of Namibia. And so I was wondering, what do you think are things that Namibia can do and other countries facing the same kind of disparity between core and periphery parts of the nation to gap that bridge between the resource disparity?
Good, good. Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Miles and I'm a student at Harvard College, and I actually spent a lot of time in your country in the northern part in both Sumeb and Otiwaranjo, where I know you spent a lot of your early life and career. Love your country. And I was wondering specifically how, after serving as Prime Minister for over a decade and now as President, how have the problems that Namibia has faced changed over the past few decades, and how has your philosophy towards solving these problems changed after your long political career?
Okay, over there, please.
Good day, Your Excellency. My name is Kanishk Mittal. I'm a freshman at the college. Recently at the UN General Assembly Summit in New York, you said that you need to move away from current growth models towards more inclusive growth and providing jobs. So what sort of growth model would you have in mind for that? Perhaps something like South Africa and Nigeria?
And the last question over here, please.
Hello, my name is Meme Anwudiwe. I'm a 1L at law school. You spoke about value-added industries and gave the examples of shipping marble to Europe when it would come back and be sold once processed. And I know similar African countries like Nigeria has that problem with oil refining and other countries with food processing. I just wanted to ask, value-added industries, that's been known as a problem in Africa for a long time, and I was wondering if you think that those problems are starting to be addressed on the continent and what exactly your government is doing to address those types of issues in the industry.
It's a food processing question.
It's a question about value-added industries. So it could be oil refinement, food processing, or even the marble example that you gave during the speech.
Adding value to various products, including agriculture.
Is it still up?
I think we can. You can proceed, Your Excellency.
Yeah, I'm sorry because of my accent also, and you have also heavy accent, I didn't get some of you very well, to tell the truth. First question was what to do with what? urban. That's why I have the wife to help me. I was just testing her to see whether she's listening. What to do about urban-rural divide? That's the biggest problem. Africa, and even sometimes in advanced countries, you still find it too. But we are a little bit lucky in Namibia, in the sense that the colonial system, the war, to fight the war, they have to build infrastructure to move the troops. So you have a very good infrastructure. From Cape, you can go to Angola, where the war was. Soldiers had to use the road to go to fight the war. And also east, so we can crisscross the country on good highways. All we have to do now is to have feeder roads, so that the farmer producing, whom I have to help to produce, must go to the market by using the good road. So that will be easier for us, but divide is still big, urban, rural development. Now what does it do? When you develop a capital city, Windhoek is a beautiful city. Today, many of them are coming to squat because you cannot arrest them. It's a free movement is there now. So we have a problem now. Free movement that we guarantee is causing now trouble that people come to squat. And we are now trying to develop in the rural areas. That's the only way. You must give facilities where they are coming from so that they can stay there. If you develop only the cities, the capital cities, people are going to come and squat. So answer is expand the development to the rural areas. Pay attention to rural areas. Agriculture, agro-business, and also food processing. I know in Harambee we are talking about having manufacturing, value addition in agriculture. I'm getting promise of a big Brazilian company, number 2 in the world, trying to come and set up in Namibia to process food and so on. I hope they're not going to bring their chicken to dump it there, but we'll watch out. And other one is how to do what? Oh, how the problem, it changed a lot. I told you, look at white and black, we are holding hands, living together peacefully for 26 years. I said economy is growing, but it's an economy of creating jobs. So we must education first, to educate the young people, because youth is the future. And if they are the ones who are unemployed, we are sitting on a time bomb. So therefore we are aware of that, and paying attention to first education, and as I said, vocational training, so that they can produce with their own hands. You see, we are having Germans there. So Germany is our country. And we know it was built because of artisans. So therefore we must bring that in Namibia. Germans may help us to do that. But definitely, Namibia of today and Namibia of 10 years or so are 2 different countries. That's how much we have moved. Last one is the one we were talking about, processing again.
The growth model.
Oh, growth model. Our own, Namibian. Growth models must be indigenous also. Firstly, it will be a contradiction if I say that, because I said we are becoming a global village. So it shouldn't be one model and so on. We are integrating. Now, some of them are asking that question to say, how about Chinese? I hope we're not talking about that. The Chinese are now taking over in Africa. That's one growth model. They come, they build highways, bridges, and so on. But sometimes it's alone. And that's why we are having financial crisis now, because if they build highways, the airports, and so on, you have to pay in US dollars. And that way it affected our foreign reserves. Today we are in trouble because of that. So we are going to be careful about it. I was here on a mission to invite American business people to come to Namibia. We have a conference next month, November 8th and 9th. And the interest shown was so overwhelming that I made a joke and said, is this a Chinese factor that is playing here? But please, we are saying in Namibia, fifth pillar, we are child of international solidarity, midwife by United Nations. We are friends to all, enemy to none. So we don't care what model. You come, it would be Namibia nice. So it would end up to be a Namibian model by the time we finish it.
So on that note, I would like Your Excellency to reassure you that your legacy will be respected. So you shouldn't have any worries about that. But let me invite you to give His Excellency a big hand.
Oh, could I recognize my old friend, Professor Rotman, please? You know him? He's an old African hand. I know last time we were here we sat here first to talk about when I was in the street, when I was outside. I'm not going to tell you that. But we were sitting here to talk about leadership. And then we met in Mombasa. You know his books? Say something. I didn't take over. Oh. Thank you. Nice to see you.
And he's also a troublemaker.
Oh, he's never.
So I want to thank you all for coming to this event. Really, this is really wonderful, a wonderful opportunity to learn about Namibia, and hope to see you at the next forum event.
Who just like jumped the barrier, gave him a bear hug.